Hello, and welcome to WellSky's video on the life cycle of a clinical note. In this video, we'll discuss how a note is passed back and forth from the clinician to QA. We'll also look at a few common scenarios of the QA process. Let's get started. There are only three places a note can be. For this example, we like to use a bucket analogy. In the first bucket, it's with the clinician. In the second bucket, it's with QA. And the third bucket means it's completed, done, and ready for billing. So, when a clinician submits a note, it's sent to QA. If QA approves that note and no corrections are required, it's completed and ready for billing. This is known as the perfect life of a note. Now, there will be scenarios where QA must send a note back to the clinician. We're going to look at this scenario directly from the application. I'm currently logged in as a clinician. To access my notes, I'll click on Go to Hotbox. I already have a note mostly filled out. As you can see, it's already in the status of saved because I've already put some information in. To click into my note, I just click on my patient's name. Let's assume in this scenario, I filled out everything on this document perfectly, except I forgot vital signs. We're going to submit this note and see how it's sent back to us. So I'll scroll down to the bottom of the screen and type in my electronic signature. As soon as I click Submit, this note moves from bucket 1 to bucket 2. It's going to move from the clinician to QA. That note is no longer in my hotbox, and now it's in a QA person's hotbox. So now I've switched roles. I'm logged in as a QA person now. To review that note that was just submitted, I'll click on Go to and Hotbox because I'm the QA person in charge of approving the notes for this patient. To quickly find that note under the filter by search, I can simply input the date of that visit. The visit that was just submitted pops up. To review the note, I just click on the patient's name So now I've switched roles, so I'm logged in as a QA person now. To review the note that was just submitted, I'll click on Go to and Hotbox because I'm the QA person in charge of approving the notes for this patient. To quickly find that visit note, under the filter by search, I can simply type in the visit date. The visit that was submitted just pops up. To review the note, I can click on the patient's name. Now I can edit or approve this document. So I scroll down and I see everything is perfect on this note. I scroll down here and I see that everything's perfect on this document except the clinician did not enter vital signs. To fix this, I'm going to use my yellow sticky note. I'm going to type in the comments, please enter vitals. Now there are two options to the bottom right of the yellow sticky note. If I click on Approve, that just sends it to the third bucket, and that would be the perfect life of a note. In this case, I cannot approve it, so instead I'll choose Edit. As soon as you click on Edit, the signature at the bottom of the page disappears. This is because information can be changed at this point. Now I'll scroll to the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to click on Return. Clicking on Return is the same thing as handing this note back to the clinician who needs to make the corrections. It's going to move from my hotbox to their hotbox. We're sending it from bucket 2 back to bucket 1. So far what we've done is submitted the note from the clinician to QA. Then we realized the vitals were not input, so it was returned to the clinician. And now that document is currently in the status of Return for Review. And now I'm logged in as a clinician again. When I click on Go to Hotbox, I see the note that's returned for review. And now there is a yellow sticky note off to the right. When I hover over that sticky note, it tells me, please enter vitals. So to add that information, I'll click back into the note. I'm going to add in the vitals. Now let's assume again that everything is perfect on this document, except I wrote T-set instead of test in the chest pain field. So everything's perfect on this document except a minor spelling error. This situation is going to be handled a bit differently. Just like before, I will scroll to the bottom of the page, type in my electronic signature, and click Submit. This goes directly back to QA. In other words, from bucket 1 back to bucket 2. So here I am again logged in as QA. When I click Go to Hotbox, I find the same visit with a yellow sticky located out to the right. And now the status is back to submitted with signature. So when I click into that note, I can see that the vitals were put in, but I also notice the spelling error. I am not going to click Approve because this note's not perfect. Instead, I'll type in the yellow comment. Please re-sign. I had to correct a spelling in the cardio section. Now, when I choose Edit this time, it's going to break the signature just like it did before. But in this case, I know what they're trying to say here. They're trying to say test. So I'm going to go ahead and make the spelling correction for the clinician. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. And instead of clicking on Return, I'm going to click Approve. When I click Approve, I'm saying, I approve what I've done. Now I'm going to return it to the clinician for signature. So as soon as I click on Approve, it goes right back to the clinician. But this is where we're going to notice a big difference. So finally, we're logged in as a clinician one more time. If I click Go to Hotbox and scroll down, I'll see the same note in the status of pending clinician signature. And I have a newly updated yellow sticky that says, please resign. I had to correct a spelling in the cardio section. The big difference here is when I open the note, I cannot change anything because it's already been approved. Now, if I don't agree with the changes, I don't have to sign it. But if I do agree with the changes, I type in my signature. And as soon as I click Sign Document, it goes from the first bucket all the way to the third bucket since it's already been approved by QA. Now that document is currently in the status of completed. So in this last example, we added vital signs and submitted the document back to QA with a spelling error. When QA got that document, they corrected the spelling error themselves and sent it back to us as approved, which meant it was in pending clinician signature status. Now, since that document was already approved, when I, the clinician, signed off on it, it jumped directly to completed since it's already been approved by QA. For a recap, we talked about how a note was passed back and forth from the clinician to QA. We also looked at a few common scenarios of the QA process.